Hello, cosmic beings. Welcome to Being Cosmic. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. I am so glad that each and every one of you are here. My name is Devon, and I will be doing a collective message today. So, with that, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. All right. Let's get into this. What does the collective need to hear today? Really quick, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. And thank you for the support on the channel. The like, shares, comments, subscribes, and donations all really do help out. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and try that again. Alrighty. So that doesn't happen often. Basically, when I was shuffling, the cards just kind of like flipped out and went everywhere for a minute. So there could be a scattered energy going on. Maybe there's just a lot of things going on in life right now. Maybe you feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 different directions, and it's just kind of scattery, um, kind of all over the place type of an energy. Let's see what else to come out. Okay, so we've got fire, and on the card it says ignition. Okay. Make sure there's no actual nudity before I show it to you. So in the reverse. Okay. Okay, so we've got ignition and fire to make equal the equator and solidity inner core. So what I feel like is happening is for some of you, you could be going through a spiritual awakening or maybe going through another phase of the awakening. Um, we go through lots of different awakenings on this journey. So something could have recently happened that ignited you into another level, another layer of the awakening process. And with that, okay, so I heard polarity when I saw this card and I said it says to make equal, and I heard polarity. So I definitely experience things this way. But there's some of us on this journey who experience things in an extreme way. So it's like you have to experience this side of the spectrum, then this side of the spectrum, and then kind of come to the middle and find your own balance, your own harmony. Um, so that could be really what's going on right now is you experiencing some extremes in some way so that you can go within and find that place of inner balance. And then yeah, and then we've got inner core. So that's finding that inner strength that who am I? Because once you really answer those questions and that's a question you can ask yourself daily. It's like who am I? Who am I really at my core? And once you really align with that energy, then you anchor it in and then you become unshakable in certain areas. Things that used to trigger you don't anymore. Things that used to get a reaction out of you don't get a reaction out of you anymore. It's really that ability to find that inner strength, that inner balance, and operate from life from that place where you're just more grounded. You're not as easily swayed and persuaded and shakeable and reactive and things like that. Um, okay, I'm being called to take a peek in the book. So let's see here. Okay, so this card is talking about living your passion. Allow your spirit to drive you forward. Don't overthink the situation. Now is the time to innovate and take action. Be a lighthouse for others or find yourself a mentor. So, this really is reminding me we just entered the year of the horse. And this is about, it's a very action oriented time. That being said, depending on where you're at on the journey, make sure you're listening to your intuition because, especially after the past year, If you've really been getting your ass kicked, more or less. Um, it's kind of like this refreshing energy and this rejuvenating energy, and it's like, "Okay, now I can put all of these things into action." That the message coming through is to make sure it's paced, make sure you're listening to your intuition and act, when you're inspired to act, but also really make sure you're staying in alignment and you are resting and allowing yourself that time in between. And then when you're feeling guided to act, follow that energy. And for some of you, what could have just been sparked is really diving back into some of those core passions that you have at like the soul level. Okay, this one is find the balance in your life. Equality among people is a worthy goal. You are worth it. Don't compare yourself to others, as this is a useless task that only leads to unhappiness. There can be a happy medium. There doesn't have to be an extreme reaction all the time. Okay, yeah. So that's really that balanced energy and becoming unshakable in certain situations. There's always going to be stuff that happens in life that causes a reaction of some sort or causes intense emotions or things like that. But it's really about finding that balance so that in your daily life, you're not being pulled in a thousand directions. You are finding those healthy boundaries for yourself. You're putting up those healthy boundaries for yourself and your time and your energy, and really seeing where your energy is going. I also heard leaking. So that could be part of this as well, as finding that, maybe there's a relationship with somebody in your life where you always feel drained. And then so you're now being guided to lessen your contact with that person. Something like that. Um, and then I also heard job. So maybe for some of you, you're realizing that you're in a draining job. Um, and that's part of what's kind of preventing you from really finding this balance. Is if you're, working 10, 12 hours a day and you're just exhausted and, you work 5, 6 days a week and then you just can't really get your energy up. Um, that could be something that is being illuminated to you right now. And if that is the case, do your best not to get like frustrated or really upset about it. Just accept it for what it is. It's the awareness that this is no longer in alignment. And then you open yourself up to what it is that is in alignment, that you do want to experience out of relationships and friendships and, um, jobs and just experiences in general. Okay. And then we've got inner core. Stay constant in your endeavors. Do not stop your progress. Seek those who are reliable and solid. Keep your promises. The greatest power is from the inside out. Okay, so yeah, that's really about finding that inner balance. And something that came up in two of these cards is finding some sort of a mentor, or even if it's somebody that you can reach out to that can help you in some way, even if it's just a grounding, stabilizing connection where it helps you to pull into that energy of that inner stability. And maybe there's a person that helps you to come back to yourself and really tap back into that soul energy. If you if you do have somebody like that in your life, I heard if you're lucky enough, which is just funny, but if you have somebody like that in your life or in your orbit, is what I just heard, then you might be being called to reach out to this person so that you can get some assistance and help stabilizing some of this energy and yeah, and all of that. The thought kind of trailed off there for a minute. Let's see. That one, that one, that one. We're going into the tarot. Alrighty. Okay. What else is going on here? Spirit? What else is going on? Oh, we've got. Okay. So we've got the sun. Okay. Hmm. All right. Five of Swords. Okay. I mean, just a second to lay these out and see what's going on. All right. Okay. Okay. So what's coming up is you are going to be gifted something from the divine in the physical realm. So this could be a job opportunity. This could be um a blessing. I That was random. Okay, I just heard $10,000. So I don't know if maybe that's something you're manifesting. That was very, very specific. Um so it's something like that. It's going to be like this blessing that comes in that helps you to elevate in your physical realm. So if you've been manifesting something like that, know that it is coming to you and do your best not to focus on it and attach to it because that will repel it. So just know that it is coming to you and keep your options open and just know that it's making its way to you and then it will appear. Okay. And then we've got the Eight of Pentacles. And what I'm seeing is the Eight of Pentacles is right next to the Ace of Pentacles. So, with the Eight of Pentacles, what I'm picking up is that you've been working really hard on something in life to bring some sort of financial or physical stability in your physical experience. So, this is very much like our physical world. Pentacles are um the physical plane. So, you've been really putting in a lot of energy and really really building something when it comes to your finances. And this blessing from the divine, when you add the 8 plus the 1, that's the 9 of pentacles, which is it's kind of that self-made energy, that self-made stability. And so this ace of pentacles, this blessing from the divine is going to help you to really shift into a place where you feel more secure and stable in your physical life. Okay. Then we've got the 5 of swords over here. This can be kind of a gossipy energy. Um it's also being mindful of not so I was kind of picking up like a spiritual ego a little bit. So it's such a balance of like yes, when you go through a spiritual awakening and you see that there's so much more going on and you start to see systems in play and you start to see things like that and then you start to really embrace and understand your relationship with the divine and all of that it can it can trigger a thought process of looking at everybody around you who's still asleep more or less who hasn't gone through the spiritual awakening and then you can kind of have that mentality of you know it's kind of judging from that place, basically. So I feel like this is just saying to be mindful of that. If you're judging somebody else for where they're at on their journey, just be mindful of that. You're going through this journey, you're going through this process, you're going through this awakening at this time for this reason. And other people's journeys are their own. Some people, are experiencing life where they'll never really wake up and see all that there is. And then there's, some of us who come here and that's our main mission is to go through the spiritual awakening to then help other people or the planet in general really shift the level of consciousness. And so it's about and of course have boundaries when it comes to some of these connections. Make sure you're not being energetically drained, things like that. But it's also about having compassion for other people and where they're at on their journey. The other side of this card that's coming through is to be very mindful of engaging in conversations where it gets really gossipy or it gets really low vibrational and really negative. The other thing that just kind of popped up is the release of the files that has recently happened. I don't think you're allowed to say the name. Um, it starts with an E. and there's an island. I'm gonna leave it at that. Um, there's a lot of focus on that right now. There's a lot of people who are having their eyes opened, and it is very dark when we're looking at what happened and things like that. The thing is it's understanding that that's part of the process to wake people up. And so if you are in the camp of people who have already known the nefarious stuff and things that the powers that were, I like that phrase. I heard that recently. Instead of the powers that be, the powers that were, because it is being eradicated on the planet. This is all part of that. In order to break down a system, we need to see that there is a system in place. We need to see the corruption before we can eradicate the corruption. So, the other thing that I feel like is coming up with this card is to really be mindful of how much energy and attention and focus you are giving certain things like that. So for me, I'm all about conspiracies. I read books on it. I have for a very long time. Just the alternate truths that are out there and everything else. Just be mindful of when it's all consuming, because that will start to drain your energy, and then you are actually feeding the system that's being attempted to that's not being okay, hold on, let me rephrase. You're feeding the system that is being illuminated right now to be broken down. Hopefully that makes sense. I have to be so careful of what I say because of, certain words get you banned and demonetized and all of that fun stuff. So I beat around the bush with a lot of this stuff for that reason. So just so you know. But anyways, I really do feel like there's kind of a little word of caution here of being very mindful of how much attention and energy you're giving to those kinds of things. And the same kind of thing, if you talk to somebody and that's all they're talking about, back off of that, the amount of attention that you're giving to people who are stuck in those types of energies, more or less. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, moving on. We've got the Fool, the Knight of Wands, the Sun, and the Hermit. Okay. So what I feel like is happening, I feel like you've actually been in a hermit energy for a while. Um, take that as it resonates. This is the energy where you are pulling your energy back from certain people, places, and things. You're going within, you're finding your own truth. You are asking those existential questions of who am I? What is life? What's the meaning of life? What's our connection to the divine? How does that work? What's the connection to spirit guides and angels, and how does all of this work and things like that? Um, and this can also be when, you pull back from all of that and you start to see things like conspiracies and stuff of that nature, to help you to see the alternate truths and to wake up to the systems that have been in place for so long. So I feel like you've been in this energy for a while. Um, yeah. And for some of you, you may be being called to go into this energy a little more right now. So just take that as it resonates. But this is really the energy where you're giving yourself the time to go within and to find some of those truths and really tap into your own soul, your own alignment. See what no longer serves, what's no longer in alignment, release what you're being asked to release, that kind of thing. So it's a very intensive process, or it can be. um, what I feel like though is in this energy, what you have found is there's something where you are being asked to take a leap of faith in a direction. With the Knight of Wands, this is a very fast moving energy. This is also a very passionate energy. So you are being asked to take a leap of faith in the direction of something that brings you uh passion, soul fulfillment, excitement, and it is going to lead to stability in some way. So for some of you, this is going to be a person. For some of you, this is going to be a career. or a side hustle, something like that. Um, yeah, I mean, it really can be anything. It can be, moving locations, anything like that, but you're really being asked to take this leap and follow what it is that is lighting you up, that excites you at a soul level, that's in alignment with you. And what that is going to lead to is the sun energy, which is very much, it's a very, very positive card. It's joyful and blissful and peaceful, and there's an element of freedom and, being around good people and going to places that are in alignment and having experiences that are in alignment and just really experiencing a, a more joyful life. And so that's what all of this is leading to, is to this sun energy where you're with loved ones. You are experiencing life in just such a different way. Where it's not so hard. It doesn't have that struggle aspect, that painful aspect. It's more of the flip side of that, where it's peaceful and it's joyful and there's freedom and there's excitement and there's, it's being out in the sun. Um Yeah. So ultimately, this is really a beautiful message. This is really saying that you've put in a lot of work already. You've been doing a good bit of inner work. And you're ready to take this leap towards what it is that is bringing soul fulfillment in some way. And so continue to listen to your intuition, continue to go into this hermit energy when you feel the call to do so, and keep doing that self discovery and asking yourself what it is that you are being called for or towards at that soul level. Because you came here at this time and you're going through this awakening, or you've gone through the awakening already. You're doing all of this for a reason. There's Your soul chose to come here at this time and to go through these experiences for a reason. And so just keep tapping in to really continue to align with that soul alignment. And I heard expansion. So there is something, by taking this leap, it is going to lead to a soul expansion of some sort. So yeah, this is a beautiful message. So I wish you all the best on this journey. I know it's it's not easy. It's the path less traveled, so it's a little different and challenging when you're going against the norm. But just know that there's a lot of us now that are going through this, and we're all going through this for a reason. And as much as there is a light being shined on the darkness, there's also forces at play. And we are some of those forces that are really here to help eradicate that darkness. So allow that to empower you, not in an ego way, but just in a way of like, okay, I chose to do this. I chose to have these experiences. I chose a very challenging path. Most of us did, so that we can break through and wake up and then bring down this higher vibrational energy into the planet at this time to really help with the awakening process. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave this here. I wish you all the best on this journey, sending you my love. If this resonates, feel free to let me know in the comments. You can also hit that like button. It does help out the channel, so thank you. And if you would like to see more from me, you can hit subscribe. It is free, and I will see you on the next message. Bye.